Yo, peace. It's the Emotional Alchemist here, back with another video. And this video is going to, so last video, I, just gave you guys an insight as far as who I am, as far as, spirit, as far as, this vessel, this lifetime, who am I? And, now I feel getting that out, I'm able to give the information and the share my knowledge as far as my soul's mission goes. So when it comes to your soul's mission, I just wanna before I get to that part, I want to give an understanding and an understanding, so that way, like, when I'm talking about certain things, we're just like nobody's like confused, and there's a bit of a foundation there, so it's not like, wait, what is that, you know what I'm saying? So I want people to understand what I'm talking about. So they're gonna be like, just certain things that I just give out, so that we're basically on the same page, you know what I'm saying? So um when it comes to your soul's mission, you have spent lifetime lifetime after lifetime cultivating this your soul's mission through different spirits. So in one lifetime, my name was Sheila. In another lifetime, I was Anthony, and then in another lifetime, I was Abaku. You know what I'm saying? Like, just different lifetimes. You've spent cultivating this energy that you are in now, as far as being a spiritual being and fulfilling your soul's mission. So it wasn't just like oh, you woke up to this soul mission this lifetime. No, you are aware of it this lifetime, but you've spent many lifetimes cultivating and getting to this point, because you're walking in your soul mission. It's like it's like gathering information. You were gathering the data through different lifetimes, and then it was the life. Now it's that time for you to you have enough data to be able to push forward. Now that's saying you still have to gather data so that you can fully walk in your soul mission. But the fact that you became aware of it means that you're taking the actions, and you're walking towards it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what essentially happens, as far as you becoming aware this lifetime, that you have a soul's mission, and it's not just it wasn't just a purpose. So um and the difference between like a purpose and a mission, like a purpose is like one person can fulfill a purpose, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't take a team to fulfill a purpose. Like, if I have a my purpose for um geez, that example just like went straight out the window. um yeah, I don't even remember that example. Okay, so the purpose and then the mission. A mission encompasses a team, basically. So your spirit team, your that includes your ancestors, that includes your past lives, any ascended masters you resonate with, deities, uh, the all, things of that nature. That's who's helping you as far along your soul's mission. So it's not just you. You are the boots on the ground. You are the boots on the ground, but it's not just you. You have a whole team supporting you. So it's a mission. Like, I just think of 007. He was the boots on the ground, but he had people in his ear. He had people looking out for him, and this, that, and the other. So thank you for that. That's what a soul's mission is. So as far as my soul's mission, so now let's get into a little background of the I'm hearing like the power I wield. I like that. That's big though. But I mean, like, it's just expansive. That seems so expensive. Um, the power that I wield to be able to fulfill the soul's mission. So the emotional alchemist, being the emotional alchemist, along with that, being able to transform emotions within myself and others by the um, by me verbalizing it, by just me embodying my authenticity. Just like I said, whether that's me verbalizing, whether that's how I express myself as far as how I dress, or you know how I create. You know what I'm saying? Because I paint, I write, I do things like that. Anything to express. Gemini is that expression. It's that communication. But what we don't realize is that communication is more than just verbal. It's it's taking how you feel on the inside and expressing it outwards. So that's where like painters they express themselves through their art. That's why art is also subjective. That's a whole nother story. But when it comes to art, you're able to um, look at it, and depending on your how you internalize that, you're able to express it outwards. And like that's why people ask like, what does this painting look like to you, and you'll get 5 different answers. Is because people are expressing it how they feel. But that artist originally expressed their internal nature through that. So expression is not communicating is not just verbalizing. It's nonverbal as well. So with that being said, um, when it comes to the emotions and being able to help individuals, alchemize certain emotions, a gift that comes along with that is me being a shadow worker. So I call myself a shadow worker because I'm able to delve deep into what beyond the surface of what people are seeing as far as when it comes to their emotions. Because it's like, when think about it's like when people angry. And I use anger a lot, so I have a lot of examples of surfacing around anger, because I've been through that a lot. I spent years being angry. So not 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 only that emotion, but it was a prominent emotion in my life that I had to overcome, and realize that it had nothing to do with anyone else. So when it comes to anger, and it's like, first of all, knowing that it's just a feeling, and that's not who you are. You don't embody the anger. That's just an emotion that you feel. So when when you're uh, angry, we don't um, we don't go within. It's automatically someone else's fault as to why we're angry. And what we need to do is go within and realize why we are feeling that anger, and it has nothing to do with the next individual. So I forgot the point of that. So when it comes to being like I said, when it comes to being a shadow worker, I'm able to dive deeper than the fact of so and so made me angry. Or if I'm talking to an individual, like so and so made me angry, and I'm talking to an individual and they're like, that person made me angry. I I can see below the surface of their anger. I can see below the surface of their anger, of what they know. So they may think that it was that person that made them angry, but in all actuality, it was really them feeling unloved. So what we're gonna say as far as anger, I'm angry at this person because I called them and they didn't answer the phone. You weren't angry because they didn't answer the phone. You were angry because you felt unwanted, which led you to feeling unloved, which led you to feel unworthy. So you see how it's a lot deeper than just the fact of they didn't answer the phone, so now I'm angry at them. You were never angry at them. It was the feeling you were feeling, and you had to overcome that. But you can't overcome it if you're not aware of why you are actually feeling these emotions. It never has anything to do with the next individual. That's why we should always go within when we feel certain things. So with that being said, the ego plays a big part in that. So I have an acronym that I came up with as far as ego, and excuse me, I wanna read that. So the ego is an acronym for emotional gateway obstruction. So let me let me back up real quick. I hear a lot of people talk about ridding oneself of the ego and ego death and all of this and all that. As far as we got to get away from the ego. The ego is bad. You know what I'm saying? And it's not ridding oneself of the ego or killing the ego. It's all about integrating the ego, and integrating the ego means integrating your emotions. So when I say integrating the ego, how I like to look at it is that the ego is the lowest form of who you are, as far as this vessel. So the ego came with this vessel. You can't rid yourself of the ego. You have to learn how to harmonize with it, instead of um, thinking outside of who you are. If that makes sense, if it makes sense to me. If it so when it comes to the ego is essentially ascending, while the higher self is descending, so that they can meet each other in harmony. Because you don't want to rid yourself of the ego. You need the ego. The ego is not bad. The ego is just doing its job. And if you can look at it for that, you'll be able to realize what it's actually for, and you'll be able to observe it, which means that you'll be able to overcome the emotions that are tied to the ego, which are tied to how we see things as far as our perspective and perception. That's another video for another time. So when it comes to the ego, the acronym is emotional gateway obstruction. So I want to tie that together by giving you the definition of each word. So emotions. So you know what? I'm gonna start with the gateway. So with the what is a gateway? The By definition, a gateway is a means of achieving a state or a condition. And there's a second definition, is a means of access or entry to a place. That one really got my cogs moving, as far as what a gateway actually is: a means of access or entry to a place. So we have that. Now we have an obstruction. What is an obstruction? A thing that impedes or prevents passage or progress, an obstacle, or a blockage. So if the gateway is a means of access or entry into a place, and an obstruction prevents that passage, then that means that I can't get through the gateway. Why can't I get through the gateway? What's the obstruction? So now we have emotions. Emotion is a mental state that arises spontaneously rather than through conscious, which is mental intellect effort, and is often accompanied by psychological changes. So emotions, a mental state that arises spontaneously. When it comes to emotions, when you realize you have no control over the emotions, you'll realize that the emotions that you are feeling are not from this lifetime per se. Now they show up in this lifetime, but it did not start in this lifetime. This is something that another energy that was cultivated through through lifetimes. We're working on things that have been presenting themselves through lifetimes. So now it had to present itself in this lifetime, as far as like for example, an individual that made you feel a certain way. All it did was come through them. They made you feel that way because that was something that you had that was something that was already presented, that was already presented and already within this body. So break it down a little more. If I'm the age I am now and somebody sets me off and there's an emotion that I feel and I'm not aware that it came through them, I'm going to blame them, which leaves me feeling like they are to blame. Instead, if I were to realize that like it came through them, I would be able to feel that emotion, and then I could be able to realize that it did not start with them. It started when I was 4 years old and this incident happened. That is where that energy and that emotion initially came from. But what we do is like we like to place blame on the other individual, which leads us to not hold ourselves accountable for what we have going on and what we have to heal. So back to the emotions. So it's accompanied by a psychological change, and that psychological, I wrote the definition of that as well. So that's affecting or arising in the mind related to the mental and emotional state of a person. So if we're not aware, like I said, it if we're not aware that it came through that individual, so that we can work on it, it starts to change our mental and emotional state and the capacity. So this is where you start to get where paranoia comes in as well, as far as like you've been through so many things, as far as like say cheating. You've been cheated on for so many through so many relationships that now if you call a person and they don't answer their phone, oh, they're automatically cheating. And what happened was that emotion arose and it affected your psyche, and it affected your psychological, it affected your psyche. So now everybody is a cheater. Now everybody can't be trusted. Now everybody is this. When in all actuality, that's not the truth of the matter. But your emotions will make you feel like that is valid, because I mean you've spent so many situations. It's like if it walked like a duck, it talked like a duck, then it must be a duck. But in all actuality, if it walked like a duck, it talked like a duck, it talk like a duck, it might be an American coot. Let that marinate. But so when it comes to ego, emotional gateway obstruction. So now we got the emotions, and the emotions uh, that are affecting our psychological, our mental and emotional state. Then we got the gateway, which is the entry and access to a place, and the obstruction, which basically blocks us from getting there. What are our emotions and our ego blocking us from getting to? It's blocking us from getting to our divinity. So ego being an emotional gateway obstruction, as far as the lowest form of this earth, it's literally your emotions are causing you to stay tied to this vessel, and it's causing you to not step into your authenticity and to step into your divinity. Divinity is what? Being divine means that you are back to love energy. God is love. Divinity is wholeness. It's the balance between your masculine and feminine energy, and who's balanced within that? God, all source. It's literally encompassing both, and that's what we're here to get back to. But you cannot follow spirit in ego. Spirit, listening, following your spirit team, following your spirit, and listening to your discernment, which discernment is the Holy Spirit, God, or however you want to look at it. You cannot follow spirit in ego. And why you can't follow spirit in ego? Because the ego is an emotional gateway obstruction. It's literally stopping you from being able to do so. So how do we integrate ego? Is we dissociate from the ego to reassociate with the ego. When I say dissociate from the ego, that means that you have to realize that you are not ego. You are not those emotions. You feel those emotions. And when you're able to realize that you feel those emotions, that's when you can step back and you can become the observer. Now, I think I'm going to put a pin in that right there. And I truly hope that that made sense. Um, if anything, more clarity. It made sense to me. So let's say that it made sense to me. Now, if there's something that you didn't understand, or there's something that you need a little bit clarity on, or anything, drop some comments, drop the questions. I promise you, I'll be able to help help you walk through that, help you work through it, and even get a better understanding over it. Because yes, we understand and we understand, but the point of what we want to do is overstand so that we can exo stand outside of this vessel and look for it as far and look at it as far as a look at it in a different perspective, which will open us up to a overall perception, which perception is all, perception is source, perception is the most high. That's another video for another time. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna leave it there. Um, and I hope this finds everybody with good grace. And until next time, deuce deuce.